what does it start with, Anilji? What is this first three words?
Starts with these assertions are apt to be misunderstood. Page 142, last paragraph.
So, you mean from where we are going to read? These assertions, yeah. So the verse is section 1, Anuvak 1, but we are at like few paragraphs. Okay. Om Sahana Vavtu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Om Shanno Mitra Sham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Bruhaspatihi Shanno Vishnururukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanma Vavatu Tad Vaktaram Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So I hope that everybody remembers those three words, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, because we have to literally memorize that. Okay. So we were at a section where we read the paragraph which said the knower of the Brahman reaches the Supreme. So we know, just to remind everybody, that the language of Upanishad is subtle. It's like secretive knowledge type of thing, you can say. It's a deeper meaning, and we have to, we need all the commentaries of the saints and sages. Otherwise, if we just take the word meaning, we won't understand what they're saying. In sutra form mein hai. So there's a lot packed behind each sentence. So here it's telling you the goal. And then, there is another Upanishad that mentioned, which talks about Mundaka Upanishad, where it says, he who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. So that was one. And in this Upanishad, it's saying the knower of the Brahma reaches the Supreme. All of them have the same meaning. And here Swamiji is going to explain, jo criticize karte hai na, cavil karte hain, jisko bolte hain. Carp and cavil jo bataya tha, uska example denge ki bhai, the moment they will hear this, and aisa kaise ho sakta hai ji? Because they will bring up their own arguments, why this sounds like a nonsensical thing from their perspective. So keeping that in mind, let's read. Anilji, would you like to read? And we can take turns to read because it's a very long, so maybe 2-3 paragraphs you read and then somebody else can read.
So I should start on the last paragraph on page 142. These assertions are apt.
Mm-hmm.
These assertions are apt to be misunderstood or even criticized as impossible idealisms preached to converse the beliefs of the unintelligent. The critics argue that by knowing a table, we don't become a table, nor do we reach or come to possess the wealth of another by merely knowing his bank balance. If by knowing we were to come to possess and live our knowledge, laughs the hasty critic, in the world there would not have been, perhaps, a greater profession than to be a cashier in a state bank.
So he's just joking that अगर किसी चीज की नॉलेज से हम वही बन जाएंगे तो सभी बोलेंगे कि ओ हम तो कैशियर बन जाते तो हम will become money. Anyway, so I guess that I'm looking at this. He gave a very long commentary because I think when Swamiji came from the Himalayas and he started giving these discourses, I'm sure he had a lot of criticism by a lot of people. So he had to really explain it more in detail, Now there are people a lot more receptive. That was one point. And I think that some of the people who were like from foreigners who just upar se Upanishad ko padha hoga, and then they didn't understand and they thought it was some kind of mumbo jumbo or something like that. So उन सबको रिफ्यूट करने के लिए उन्होंने ये सब कमेंट्री लिखी.
This is exactly the mistake which one would naturally fall into when one tries to read and understand the Upanishads by the literary meaning of the words. In the literature of Upanishads, words borrowed from the finite language are being made use of for a higher and special purpose of indicating the infinite. As such, these borrowed words are to be understood in their special employment to have gathered some special meaning and import. Thus, the word knowing here is not meant in the sense in which we generally know things of the world, wherein the knower is always different from the known and the knowledge. Yet the word know is used in the sense of discover or realize.
So whoever has been in the class long enough, now they know what we are talking about. That's why it's called self-realization. It's not called self-knowing or something. It's realization. I mean, I was always that, but I didn't know who I was. Now I realize it. And I think that the best worldly example is of that boy who was actually a prince. वो खो गया मेले में और अब उसको पता नहीं है कि वो कौन है, and he's begging because he was picked up by a beggar, and now somebody tells him, hey, you are the king's son. So वो, just by knowing that, he becomes king's son because he was already king's son. That's how you have to look at this knowledge. That's the connotation over here. तुम ऑलरेडी वो हो, तुमको पता नहीं है, you're ignorant of it, किसी ने तुमको समझा दिया, तुम समझ गए, तुम मान गए, तो तुमको मिल गया वो. That's how you have to look at this whole thing.
It often happens that we keep on desperately searching for a key or an important paper all over the room until somebody points it out to us. Either the key is in our own hands or the paper is just in front of us on the table. The knowledge that the key that I was searching for is in my own hand is a knowledge that gives me back the key that I had lost. Similarly, when we say that by knowing the thing we reach the thing known, we only mean that the thing was already with us, and yet it was screened off from us temporarily by our own ignorance of it. The ignorance of it is removed by our knowledge of it, and the thing that was already with us becomes available for our experience. Similarly, he who realizes that divine spark, the self within himself, comes to know it in the sense that he rediscovers that which was already within him, but it lay unfortunately veiled off from him by his own ignorance.
So he explained completely in detail, right? Something you already have, something your key or something, and you're looking at it everywhere, and only reason you don't have it technically because you don't know it. Once you know it, then you have it. So from that perspective, this knowledge is talking about.
And Umaji, that's why they say in the cave of your heart.
Yes, because that is your essence. Yes. Yes.
The students to whom the Upanishad is declared are all great seekers wanting to know what life is and whether there be any goal in life worth achieving. They are all great intellectual inquirers who have come to investigate upon the universal happenings in nature and come to question if there is any purpose to be gained or a goal that is to be reached in life. This question is answered completely here in this short and pithy declaration by the great rishis. The goal is Brahman, and one who realizes it reaches the Supreme.
So he's just saying that जो sentence बोला है उसमें goal छुपा हुआ है हमारी जिंदगी का. You know, even though they have not used word goal over here, but other places in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan has used it, you know. There's what is the goal and all. But here, that's what, because all of us in the end want to know, because we discussed it that sansar mein tum kitna bhi achieve kar lo, you know, it is impermanent, you know. You have to leave and go. So then it cannot be a permanent goal of that. So then what really is, it's telling you over here. I think to me, if once you have that higher goal, then other things don't matter as much. I don't know how all of you, if you get it, great. Nobody's saying don't enjoy what you got. But if you didn't get it, you're not going to feel crushed. You know, like there is one, I like this saying. I don't know how you feel about this saying. They said that after every every game of chess, all the things go in the same box. Whether you are king or you are that pyada. It's a very profound statement.
That's a good one.
Yeah, okay, all of them go in the same box. So, what difference it makes?
When the Guru has declared in one summary statement the goal of life, the Aryan students of the true Hindu stock, as we have found earlier, are not very ready to accept it immediately unless this statement is fully supported by the eternal Vedic declarations. The teacher knew this tradition and therefore he adds, in that sense is the following hymn recited. He is quoting a Vedic definition of truth absolute as indicated by the term Brahman.
So he's just telling you, now remember, this whole, Upanishad is about the teacher telling the students. Okay, so even if you tell somebody the highest goal ये है वो है, लेकिन वो है क्या चीज जब ये नहीं बताओगे, they are not going to be satisfied. So that's why, hey, that is the goal. What is the nature of that goal? Then that's where the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman comes. Is further definition of Brahman. How to understand the Brahman. That's what it is.
The infinite truth can, on no account, be fully defined in words. Infinite defined is finitude ill expressed. And yet we have here three words which in their indicative meaning completely give us an appreciable suggestions of what the truth is.
So the famous saying, the truth defined is truth defiled. Because you cannot, but you still make an attempt, because, it's something like, how do you grasp infinity? With this finite equipments and finite understanding, you are trying to get infinities. That's why we have done this other Upanishad. In the end, it's a grace of God, right? You can come and stand at the door, but whether Bhagwan lets you in to understand everything, that will be up to him. Because we cannot, with finite equipments, we cannot understand this. But they still try, all the saints and sages, and that's why they came up with Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And then we also know about the other one, right? Sat Chit Anand. It's the same. Sat, यहाँ पर वो Jnanam is Chit, and Anand बोला है Anand because it's infinite. That's why the Anand ka connection and infinity say. But whichever way you want to, whatever appeals to you, you can say Satchinanand or Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And then here Swamiji is going to explain in detail. When you say Satyam is just a word. And what do I mean by Satyam? Sach bolo, that's a very superficial meaning of Satyam here. Satyam is a lot more deeper here. So that's what he's going to explain Satyam.
Satyam, it is generally translated as truth. In itself, this translation is mum and does not express any idea. The words gather their momentum only in intellects that are familiar with the import of the words. In the tradition of Vedanta, Satyam is that which is the changeless substratum for all changes and modifications. So
this is going to be very, very, very important, and we have to, sabhi ko ye concept बहुत अच्छे से समझ में आ जाना चाहिए. What did it mean by Satyam here? And the other way of looking at it, under definition that we sometimes use is, that's something which stays 3 periods of time. Past, present and future. All 3 में जो रहता है उसको सत्यम बोलते हैं वेदांत में. Because if you look at the world, all these things change. They don't remain the same. So actually, maybe I should talk about that there are 3 different things. One is Satya, and other one is Asatya, means जब जो कोई हो ही नहीं सकता कुछ. Like say, try to grow flowers in the sky or something. It's Asatya, that's not going to happen. But there is something in between. That's what the term they use is mithya. Mithya means I experience it and it looks like truth, but actually it's not. It comes in the existence for a while, stays for a while, and disappears. That's how the world is. That's how our body is. Before we were born, our body was not there. This particular one I'm talking about. Okay, so then through the mother's womb, the mother eating the food and all that formed that body. And then when I was born, to maintain the body, I'm constantly eating food. That's how the body is made up of, and then other tattvas also. We have air and we have space and everything in it, all 5 tattvas. So do I say that it is a satya? No, it is mithya. Means it came into existence for a while. It was not there before. Now it's there. It's not going to be there in the future. So that's how. But satya always stays all 3 periods of the time same. That's another way of looking at it.
Can you also use the word illusion for mithya?
Yes, because illusion में भी वही होता है ना, you experience it. जो लोग मैजिक वगैरह इल्यूजन से दिखाते हैं, हम लोग एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं उसको, राइट? बट एक्चुअली में होता नहीं है. एब्सोल्युटली इट इज. एंड इफ यू लुक अराउंड यू, I mean, when you see, all those ruins and all that, at one time they were bustling cities. Now they're gone. Or our great grandfathers and all that, we only know some. We don't even know their names now. We might know to a certain point. Uske pehle we don't know. So it comes and goes. What are you going to do? That's how it is. It's temporary.
For example, the post is the truth in the ghost vision. The rope is the truth behind our misunderstanding that it is a serpent, or a dry twig, or a crack on the surface of the earth, or a streak of water. The idea is that in all honest inquiries, ultimately the real substratum comes to be discovered. When we discover the post in the ghost, we all know how impermanent relatively was the ghost. Therefore, the supreme position, the ghost and its ghastly grinings, are all declared as false, while relatively, of course, the post is considered as truth.
So he just explained, we know these examples, right? Snake and the rope, or the ghost or the post, or the mirage that you see when you're driving and you think there is water, but actually it is just a road. It appears like a water, but because there was a road, that's why it looked like water. Because there was a rope, that's why it looked like a snake. Same way, there is consciousness is the only real thing in this whole universe. बट उसके ऊपर सुपर इम्पोजिशन ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड हुआ है और हमको वो वर्ल्ड दिखाई दे रहा है. दैट्स ऑल. उसके नीचे क्या है वो हम लोग को जानना है.
Did I keep on reading or someone else wants to read?
Okay. Your Urmil ji can read it, yes.
In the life of plurality, also we are searching an endless variety of change. Time changes, seasons change, individuals keep on changing in their body, mind, and intellect. Nothing is permanent, even for a moment. In this general and continuous state of flux, there must be a changeless, eternal factor that is the ground which makes changes possible upon it. That Satyam is Brahman.
So see how beautifully explained that this is scientific fact that anything to change, you need a changeless substratum. Otherwise, change is not possible. And in the next paragraph, he's going to give examples. This is a 100% scientific fact. Nobody can deny this. So now you look at it in a very bigger picture. Everything in the world is changing. So there has to be a changeless substratum behind it. And that's what Brahman is. He's saying. Very scientific.
Without the steady, spotless screen behind the ever-changing play of lights and shades, there cannot be the illusion of a thrilling film in the theater. Without its permanent and motionless bed, the waters of a river cannot maintain their endless flow. Without the solid and inert rails, the flying wheels of the train cannot move on. The screen in the movie house, the riverbed in the river, the rails in the railways, these are the changeless, the permanent, the truth. That factor which is immutable, upon which the finite changes are rendered possible, is Satyam. the Brahman of the literature of Upanishad.
So now we know very clearly what he means by Satyam, right? Did everybody understand those three examples? We have talked about it, that for a movie, we need a screen. Without a screen, we cannot watch a movie. So that is Satyam for it, because we know that the screen remains the same, movie keeps changing. Same way, the consciousness remains the same, but sansar keeps changing. They may, in the history, we call it Roman era, or, whatever, Buddha's time, and now it's different time. So that's how it keeps changing. And the other example is train cannot run until you have the tracks. That's more permanent. And river, you need a river bed. Without that, the river won't flow. You need a place to flow the river. So with this example, the same way the world to continue, this world of change that we call sansar, you need a changeless substratum, and that is Brahman according to Vedanta.
If you give, just a minute, if you give the example, inner example, your thoughts are changing continuously.
Yes.
What's behind that? What's behind that is the witness consciousness. That is the changeless factor in you.
Yes, very good point. Yes.
These are the outside ones. This is the inside one that goes on in your mind every day for everybody.
Exactly. So that's why the technique they tell you, in a meditation is, don't try to stop the thoughts, because that's it. You will be very frustrated, because nature of mind is to continuously have thoughts. But if you don't give attention to it,
yes,
then you will become a witness.
Yes, and that's the one. That's the changeless.
Yeah, because किसी ने पूछा किसी स्वामी को, ये आपको कभी गुस्सा नहीं आता है क्या? बोला भी नहीं, मेरे को भी आता है, but मैं उसमें बह नहीं जाता हूँ. Yeah, right. Because कोई कुछ गलत देखेगा तो उसको भी गुस्सा आएगा. But हम लोग ओवर रिएक्ट करेंगे, लड़ेंगे, ये करेंगे. He will just probably chill and say, unless he has to really something very bad, then he might interfere. Otherwise, he might not even interfere with all that.
Jnanam, this is generally translated as knowledge. But in order to warm ourselves up to the inspired meaning of the rishis, we have to seek a fuller understanding of this term. Knowledge is of two kinds: unconditioned knowledge and conditioned knowledge. We generally experience in the world only knowledge of things. Herein, knowledge is conditioned by the things known. These conditioned knowledge bits change from place to place and from time to time, since the objects that pure knowledge happens to illumine are different from one another.
Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, okay? This jnanam, knowledge. So according to Vedanta, I think the better word for it, for us to understand, will be awareness. We understand things because we have awareness in us. The awareness always remains with us. But the objects may or may not be there. See what I'm trying to say? That's why in the deep sleep, when the world folds, like the mind and intellect, वर्ल्ड जागते समय में जो ऑब्जेक्ट्स होते हैं ना, वो विलीन हो जाते हैं हम लोग जब when we sleeping, right? And then we also, हमारा माइंड भी फोल्ड हो जाता है डीप स्लीप में. But technically speaking, that awareness is still there in us, but the objects are not there to illumine. It's something like, suppose the sun is shining on this earth, so that's why we can see everything. And suppose there is nothing to see, but the sun will still shine, no? So that's how we have to lick the pure knowledge. That even if objects are not there, pure knowledge is there, the ability to be aware of something. If we can understand that part, we will understand jnanam. I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm saying. Or
the blankness is also seen in the awareness.
True, what she's saying is true. That's why when we wake up, we say, I had a good sleep. How did I know I had a good sleep? Because I'm somewhere aware of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That is a proof. But another example I'll give, maybe that will make it a little more clear. That's I have a light in this room at night time. When I turn the light on, there are 100 different things in this room. I can see everything and I can recognize, okay, this is a table, this is a chair, this is a clock. Suppose I remove every object from this room and then I turn on the light. Light is there, but then it's not illuminating any object. That's all. So what he's trying to say that in the world जो हम लोग ज्ञानम बोलते हैं ना, हम लोग उसका मीनिंग थोड़ा डिफरेंट होता है. I'm trying to say मेरे को ये बुक का ज्ञान हुआ that I'm just focusing on the object, that I understood this object. But they are talking about the ability to know. उसको ज्ञानम बोला है यहाँ पे.
But the other way around too is true too. When there's no light, the objects are still there, right?
Okay, now that's a very good question. That means what is primary over here? That awareness is primary, because even if objects are there and if you don't have conscious of it, what use is it? That's why Swamiji is going to come to a point where he's going to explain how important that consciousness is in our life when the consciousness leaves the body, in a sense. This is a little technical, but I'll try to explain. The reason we have consciousness in our body, because our subtle body illuminates it. Because we have mind and intellect. Through the mind and intellect, we become aware of everything. So when at the time of death, subtle body gets separated from the gross body, right? So the subtle body is gone. That means consciousness का connection टूट गया. जैसे ही consciousness का connection टूटा, वो body एकदम useless हो गई. वो बॉडी को कोई रखने को तैयार नहीं, बोले जल्दी इसको या तो दफनाओ या इसको जलाओ, बिकॉज इट इज सो बैड दैट इट विल स्टार्ट गोइंग बैड, इट विल स्टार्ट स्टिंकिंग एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट, बिकॉज उसकी ग्लोरी बॉडी की है बिकॉज ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस. उसका सारा, और वो कॉन्शियसनेस की वजह से ये गैदर किया आएगा. I mean, I think Bhagavad Gita में भी आएगा maybe, and then maybe there's other Upanishads that explain it to you. That consciousness is primary, उससे mind and intellect आता है, उससे फिर body बनती है. Body वो mind and intellect और consciousness के लिए है, not the other way around. So वो सारी हमारी glory of body is because of that consciousness.
So awareness is
primary. And
right?
यहाँ पर, yeah, exactly.
And the objects are secondary.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. When Ganga water is poured into different types of bottles, the shapes of water conditioned by the different bottles should necessarily be different since the bottles are of different shapes. But this does not mean that water itself has any definite shape. Similarly, though the knowledge bits conditioned by different objects are seemingly different because of the plurality of the objects themselves, the knowledge absolute in its pure nature is unconditioned by any of the objects that it illuminates.
This is also a little technical. It requires some deep contemplation and things like that. But the best example I can give about is what you said about the sunshine. The sunshine is necessary for me to see any objects, right? And sunshine illumines everything, right? But the sunshine itself never gets contaminated. Think about it. It can touch the gutter or it can touch Ganga water. Sunshine will remain pure. So the pure knowledge, that ability to know, always remains pure. It's one and it's all pervading, but the objects can be different, So that's how we have to kind of try to understand. It takes a little time to sink in, but we'll get it as we go along.
Well, when the Ganges water, and I read it, and I said, well, Ganges water in different bottles takes different shapes. So the consciousness, the Atman, is different, taking shapes of different human beings, different beings, even everything.
True.
Not just the water. I mean, if you look at it, that's what it is. That's who we are, basically, of the 5 elements. And the 5 elements you can see in birds, in plants, in human beings, different human beings, and all that. And that's what I thought of it when I read it.
Yeah, no, it's true, whatever you said. So, these examples are also very deep and they have many different facets to it. And you can
Yeah.
say all different aspects, they're all true. Whatever you are saying is absolutely true. And it's something like you can take the example that you take, the sugar candy hoti thi. हम लोग जब छोटे होते थे तो वो शुगर क्या different shapes बना हुआ होता था, and the kids would fight, I want that bird, no, I want that, and the mom will say it's all sugar, what difference it make? Once you put it in your mouth, it's going to all melt and become sugar. But so same way the consciousness is one, but it just expresses like so many different objects, and we think that it's all different, but at the core of it, it's same. And same way about the waves. Whether it's a low tide or high tide or small wave or big wave, it's all water.
Yes.
And if you think about it, that water quantity has not changed in the ocean. Right? That is another most important thing. That we may think, oh, वो समुद्र में वो आ गए, इतनी बड़ी waves आ गई. Water was the same. It's just उछल रहा है ज़्यादा बस. Quantity तो change नहीं हुई ना उसमें.
Right.
Then why are we created differently? I mean, why we are all different individuals?
मजा अगर थोड़ा सा भगवान ने बोला कि जाके अगर समझो सभी उर्मिल होते तो फिर हम लोग एक दूसरे से बात कैसे करते? It's just
our vasanas are doing all
it's not, you can look at it technically, but even if you look at a very simple way, because some people, I think it's the Sarva Priyananji always gives that example, that it's like Bhagwan said, I want to play a game with me, myself. So, I mean, he's all pervading, he's everything. How will he? So, उन्होंने ना अपना image बना लिया, which is like different from him, totally. अगर game खेलना है तो कुछ उल्टा होना चाहिए ना. जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं ना कि हम लोग के सबके घर बहुत comfortable है, हम लोग क्यों जाते हैं पिकनिक पे? आप बताओ मुझे. We want something different. We want to sit under a tree. We want to do this. उसमें हमें तकलीफ भी होगी. गर्मी सर्दी लगेगी, बग्स काटेंगे. यहाँ तो नहीं है, थैंक गॉड, सैन डिएगो में नहीं. अगर ह्यूस्टन में चले जाओ तो मच्छर भी काटेंगे तुमको, तो भी लोग जाते हैं पिकनिक को. So it's just trying to experience the opposite. That's one point. And the second point is, if everything is very smooth and great, you lose appreciating it completely. So you need to experience the opposite. When you experience the opposite, then when you come back to your place, wow, घर is so good. You सारा दुनिया में घूम के आ जाओ. When you come back to your own bed, you say, God, this is the best. But when you are on your bed, then you खुजली आती है कि भाई यहाँ जाए, वहाँ जाए, ये करे, वो करे. That's what it is. It's very interesting if you think about it. Why? That's one answer, but nobody knows why. But if that answer satisfies you, then
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. It does. Okay, I'll just finish this para, then somebody else can. The term Jnanam indicates this knowledge absolute, which illuminates for us the objects of experiences in the outer and inner worlds. The conscious principle, beaming out of its awareness, illuminates all objects that it comes across. Just as the sunlight has no preference and blesses all objects with its light and grace, irrespective of their nature and quality. When the objects come into the flood of the sun's light, by the word Jnanam, this consciousness in us is indicated. We have already seen that it is this life spark that is the substratum, immutable and eternal, which makes the changes of the body, mind, and intellect possible and realistic.
So again, they're explaining the Jnanam, pure knowledge, what it is. It's like the sunlight which illumines everything. So you can call it awareness or the ability to understand whichever way you want to look at it. That's what consciousness is, and that's what this Jnanam is indicating. And it is, you can call it the life spark in us, which is, and the substratum, jo Satyam bola hai, uska further explanation diya hai, which is immutable, eternal. So all these words are kind of, they complementary to each other, and when we take all these words, think of it together, that's what consciousness is. So it's already kind of time, so we will read the Anantam next time. But any other question, comment, or anybody wants to add anything about this?
So just now a thought came that Satyam Shivam Sundaram, that's also the same thing?
Absolutely the
Satyam
same
Shiv-
thing. Yes. So Satyam is, now you know what Satyam means, right? Shivam means auspicious. और auspicious किसको बोलते हैं? जो शुभ होता है, जो प्योर होता है, उसको auspicious कहा जाता है. तो ये जो substratum है ना, उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं आता. Like the sunshine never gets sullied no matter what it touches, you know. So that's why it's called Shivam. And Sundaram because that is what the most, हम लोग होते हैं दुनिया में beautiful है, मगर वो कितना भी कोई beautiful lady होएगी, end में वो वृद्ध होने ही वाली है. She's not going to be as pretty. So in the world, everything is impermanent, but the real beauty is in that. That's why Satyam Shivam Sundaram. And then over here, it talked about the grace, right? In this last paragraph, that just like the grace of sunlight, irrespective, it blesses everything. हाँ, तो कोई बोलेगा कि वे भगवान का ग्रेस, यू नो, हम लोग बोलते हैं वो भगवान का ग्रेस मिल गया तो हम लोगों को सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन हुआ या कुछ हुआ, तो इसका मतलब दूसरों को नहीं मिला ग्रेस. नो नो, ग्रेस एक्चुअली सबके ऊपर ही है, बट वी डोंट एक्सेप्ट इट, वी डोंट नो इट, दैट्स व्हाई इट्स नॉट देयर फॉर अस. And the example given is the sunlight is there, but if I take this heavy curtain and close and then say, oh, it's so dark, it's my fault. I'm not letting the sunshine come in, you know. The same way, Bhagwan's grace is there equally for everybody. Some people take it, some don't, and they take it to benefit. And when we go to chapter 9 in Bhagavad Gita, he's going to tell you that I am same to everybody. But my bhakt stays, you know, he's in me and I'm in him. It's just because he realizes that. That's all, you know. So there are so many things in this one. But this Upanishad, this is the hallmark of it. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. And the 5 sheets that's going to come. How the Satyam Jnanam Anantam is covered by the different sheets. Very scientifically explained. Further. Any question, comment? Anybody want to add anything? Okay. I'm assuming everybody's happy, satisfied with it. Until next time. Okay, so shall we meet next time now? Should I close? I can do the closing prayer. Yeah, sorry, we can't hear you, Minaji.
I just want to thank you for the summary from 1 to 8 chapter. It was beautiful. I listened to it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, did appreciate that. That was good. Thank you.
Great. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, see you next time. Same time. Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om. Hari Om.